The world is preparing for a change in the dominant currency. Saudi Arabia is ready to replace the dollar with the yuan. Just imagine how this will transform the economic landscape. Believe it or not, countries everywhere are starting to question whether they should continue relying on the dollar as they used to. In this video, we will try to understand why countries are considering moving away from the dollar and why China and Saudi Arabia are at the center of this conversation. So hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Remember when Trump made that startling statement? The essence of it was that if you even think about abandoning the dollar, it's over for you. We'll cut you off from our powerful American economy faster than you can say, oops. The dollar, which has long ruled as the world's reserve currency, is now under some serious pressure. This little green piece of paper is under siege, and the world is holding its breath to see what happens next. Well, you're never going to believe this one. A whole bunch of countries are giving Uncle Sam's greenback a swift kick to the curb. But don't think that US is just going to take that lying down. Imagine this. If any country says goodbye to the dollar, it will face a smashing high five from Uncle Sam, a 100% tariff on all its goods. By 2025, it's not altogether impossible that the US might just slap this 100% tariff on any country daring to ditch the dollar. Talk about having a strong bargaining chip. And guess what? Mr. Trump could possibly do this all by his lonesome. No Congress approval necessary. How so? Well, there's this nifty little thing called Section 301. It's the same card he pulled on China. Here's where it gets interesting. All these tariffs can simply be applied to all the countries in the world. It's as if Mr. Trump could turn the US consumer market into a bargaining weapon. What's more ominous is that Mr. Trump appears to be oblivious to the fact that this move could send domestic inflation through the roof. This could turn out to be a huge blow to the average Joe and Jane in America. Despite this, Mr. Trump still holds the belief that tariffs are essentially a tax on China and other countries, not us.
We're going to be a tariff nation. It's not going to be a cost to you. It's going to be a cost to another country. Comrade Kamala, she said, oh, if you do that, he's raising your taxes. No, no, no. I'm not raising your taxes. I'm raising China. And all of these countries in Asia and all over the world, including the European Union, by the way.
So the US is aggressively defending the dollar, but will this lead to an economic disaster? We have to admit, whether we like him or not, Trump's speeches are always attention-grabbing and interesting. But this is next-level stuff and, frankly, quite chilling. One would think that countries would be scrambling back to the dollar after all this. But what we see is the exact opposite of that. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, but Saudi Arabia is stepping onto new ground. The Saudi Minister of Industry, in quite an unexpected move, disclosed something that gave us all a bit of a jolt. The kingdom is all set to embrace the petroyuan, sort of like welcoming a new neighbor into the community to create even more chummy links with China. Basically, Saudi Arabia has decided to use the Chinese RMB to sort out its oil trade with Beijing. Since the renminbi's global introduction back in the sunny days of July 2009, the renminbi has definitely come a long way. It all started when China decided to pilot a scheme for yuan cross-border settlements in Hong Kong and open the gates for corporations. This groundbreaking move placed the yuan on the map as a currency for the global trade platform. Slow and steady wins the race is another saying that perfectly illustrates China's journey over the years. Considering its share in world trade, China has dramatically scaled up, tripling its part from a mere 4% back in 2002 to an impressive 13% just last year. And what's the magic behind this progress, you ask? It's the ever-growing trade that widens the room for settlements in yuan. And speaking of the yuan, the use of this currency in cross-border trade settlements has mirrored China's rise in international trade, tripling from less than 1% in 2012 to over 3% in 2023. So apparently every currency is doing better than dollar, I guess. Ever wondered about the dangers of overusing something? Just like overdoing your part in your relationship, overdoing the dollar weaponization has led us here. This whole development is like the cherry on top of a series of events that happened in the last few years. People witnessed a spending spree on a massive scale, almost like a shopping frenzy during a holiday sale. Additionally, the seizure of Russia's frozen assets has shaken confidence in the dollar's stability and the security of its status as a reserve currency. Meanwhile, the Saudi minister, during his time in Hong Kong, emphasized that the kingdom is open to fresh ideas. They're all about business, avoiding political distractions. This is about more than just oil. The situation for Saudi Arabia is similar to a company's decision to diversify its suppliers after relying on one for decades. While the old supplier was reliable, depending solely on them became risky over time. By working with new suppliers, the company spreads its risk and adapts to changing market dynamics. Saudi Arabia needs China's assistance to shift its economy away from oil and gas. Okay, let's get down to business. The big China-Saudi economic picture. To really wrap our heads around the deep-seated commercial ties between China and Saudi Arabia, we need to go back a bit. This relationship extends beyond just the oil for yuan deal, and that's the starting point of a major economic shift towards Beijing, leaving behind Uncle Sam's Washington. Saudi Arabia, the land of huge deserts and even more mesmerizing oil reserves, has a whole lot invested in the land of dragons and emperors. And it's not just a minor pocket change. Unsurprisingly, the major chunk of their investments revolves around their black gold, oil and gas, and petrochemical refineries. It's like they're setting up their own little Arabia right in the heart of China, ensuring sure-shot trade with their biggest energy consumer. Beijing, on the other hand, is all smiles as its interests align seamlessly with Saudi Arabia, making it a tough nut for anyone to sanction. Do you know the real secret behind the booming Chinese trade in the Middle East? Let me spell it out for you. It's the escalating oil prices and, subsequently, the Middle East's increasing capacity to soak up Chinese exports. In 2023 alone, China's exports to the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, along with Israel and Iran, reached a staggering $138 billion. But wait, there's more. On the flip side of the coin, China's imports from these burgeoning economies were an even more staggering $186 billion. And guess what? These findings aren't just fabricated stories or baseless hunches. Nope, they're based on some pretty hardcore number crunching done using China's very own trade statistics. At the end of the day, the figures simply don't lie. The yuan from China flowing into Saudi Arabia isn't just pouring into one big bucket. No, it is nicely spread out across a range of sectors, from heavy-duty industrial plants to green and sustainable power projects, and even to electric vehicle factories. Collaboration with China is not just desirable, but downright critical for the Saudi Crown Prince to realize his vision of a diverse, booming economy. China is hardly looking to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. This is too difficult a task for which they are not yet prepared. Instead, China is focused on accumulating huge foreign exchange reserves, especially Western currencies. These reserves help keep the yuan stable, regulate exchange rates, and keep the economy stable. For example, China accumulates dollars to manage its domestic currency, and this gives it room for international financial transactions. In fact, China's trade surplus soared to $100 billion in a single month this June 2024. Hard to believe, right? That's a staggering $1 trillion annually. Yet despite this success, China still relies on dollars to stabilize its local currency and fund overseas investments. However, the most noteworthy and intriguing shift is their move to reduce reliance on the dollar in their international trade. Now, the Saudis accepting yuan for oil is a game changer. This is going to put turbo boosters on this whole process. It's as if China's economy has got a VIP pass and extra support from the Saudis. Once Saudi Arabia goes full throttle with their petroyuan plan, it's quite likely that the rest of the Middle East and OPEC will follow suit. It's like a domino effect, really, and China is setting the pieces in motion with style. On another note, let's take a moment to appreciate China's growth story. Their share of world trade has tripled over the past few decades and stands at an impressive 13%. But use of the currency in cross-border trade settlement is little less than 4%. Now that's a disparity that Beijing is itching to balance out. If China can manage the trick of settling more of its trade in RMB or dual currencies, it will make global sanctions feel like mosquito bites. Even if they get booted out of the global financial system, trade to and from China won't skip a beat. In other words, it's not game over, it's game on. China Energy made a bold move by signing nearly a $1 billion solar deal, rolling up their sleeves to build a solar power plant right in the heart of Saudi Arabia. And hold on tight, because this isn't their first venture, and it definitely won't be their last. Saudi Arabia isn't trailing behind either. It has secured renewable energy deals with China, totaling over $3 billion. Why? It's simple. Technology is firmly in China's corner, like a sure thing. Exchanging oil for Chinese yuan is an obvious choice. With the dollar being used as a bargaining tool, Saudi Arabia can easily justify this shift. There's no turning back from de-dollarization. It's a one-way street. The truth is, life is full of ups and downs, and the world of finance is no different. With it comes certain inherent risks. Now imagine a scenario where oil exporting countries decide to change the game by accepting other currencies for oil or by diversifying their reserves into various assets. In such a situation, the US dollar could find itself facing some serious challenges. This kind of shift could potentially soften the demand for our beloved greenbacks and shake its revered status as the global reserve currency. Can you imagine a world where the dollar is no longer used as the world reserve currency? It's hard to picture that happening anytime soon. Imagine a gust of wind blowing a leaf off a tree, where the wind represents the shift in currency preferences, and the leaves are our American dollars. But the dollar tree is pretty sturdy, so it would take some strong gusts of wind. Moving right along, let's think about a catalyst for such a change. Imagine rising geopolitical tensions between United States and our oil exporting pals. These tensions could act like the first domino in a line, potentially leading some of these countries to rethink their reliance on the US dollar. Of course, we have to understand that all of this is hypothetical. Like any prediction, it can't be 100% accurate, but you can definitely give this video a 100% like and subscribe to the channel. Also, drop a comment below with your thoughts on the future of the dollar. Will Saudi Arabia really trade oil for the Chinese yuan? And will Trump actually impose tariffs worldwide? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.